People, of course, may be impressed by the Iranian elections, seeing a direction, for example, a reformist trend and a conservative trend, a fierce war between the two groups, voting in different committees, and success with rates close to 60. 170%, you get some kind of conviction among the viewers that this is a real beautiful election. This is one of the clearest images of democracy in the Muslim world. We need to review the way the head of state is chosen in Iran in order to know who moves Iran or who rules Iran on the ground, whether in terms of legitimacy or in terms of politics at the country level or at the level of the world in general. And I think political scientists and political leaders in the world all understand this, but I wanted to share with you the origins of this topic. A historical point of view, as we are accustomed to returning things to their history in order to understand events more. The origin in Shiite thought, especially Shiite thought, is that the 12 in general, the 12 in particular, is that the rule will be for the Imam, and the Imam, this is infallible. And this Imam was the first Imam among them. He was Ibn Abu Talib, may God be pleased with him. Then the second Imam after him was his son Al-Hassan, then his son Hussein III. And after that, the successive sons of Hussein, son of Hussein, grandson of Hussein, and so on. If it is assumed that the rule will be through this Imam, they will not be able to establish the rulings of religion, nor will they establish the state, nor will they establish jihad, nor will they establish legislation, nor borders, nor laws, nor anything except in the presence of the Imam. When the 11th Imam, Al-Hasan al-Askari, died, in the year 260 AH, the 3rd century age, his young son died. He had a 5-year-old son named Muhammad. At that time, the people who said this imamate were called. Al-Hasan al-Askari advised his son, and that this son of his entered a basement, which is a basement, and disappeared inside this basement. And although he is alive and still alive today, according to what they say, and that he will appear at the end of time and rule again. The world, which is the Mahdi they are waiting for, means many theories to them. And this is the 12th Imam. That's why they call them the 12 Imams, 11 Imams. They were actually present. Of course, they were marginalized in their lives. They knew that they were Imams. I mean, this is what the Shiites say. They say that they are Imams, but they themselves were, many of them in their lives. They were scholars. The distinguished Sunni scholars, I mean, Ja'far al-Sadiq or Muhammad al-Baqir, are among the great scholars and the transmitter of the house of God's great ones. I mean, but they claimed this saying on them and attributed it to them, and the attribution was not correct. Most of what they said to them is documentary-wise. The important thing is that it is the theory of those who have the theory of ruling through the infallible Imam. Of course, they have the infallibility of all these Imams. The Imam among them reaches a level that he does not reach, as Khomeini personally says in the book Islamic Government, to reach a level that a close king or the Prophet of Morsi can reach. He is even greater than the Prophet among them. Why? Because he came after the Prophet. It is possible for his rulings to be impartial people, said the Prophet. May God bless him and grant him peace. This is the thought that exists. When things developed after that, and they had the possibility of a state, especially when the Iranian revolution occurred in the year 979, Khomeini's revolution, and they overthrew the Shah's regime. When Khomeini came into Shiite thought that it is supposed that he does not rule because there is no Imam, they summoned from history a theory they had existed in history from the century. Around the 4th or 5th Hijri, origins are unclear. The theory of guardianship of the jurist originated. The guardianship of the jurist means that the Imam who is absent, the one who is in the basement where he was 5 years old when he disappeared, This Imam is an example of a jurist with high jurisprudential ability, and this jurist can play the role of the Imam, so he rules. The jurist rules the guardianship of the jurist. This means that the jurist handles the affairs of the state with inspiration, suggestion, instruction, or recommendation from the absent Imam, which of course we do not see. Therefore, he can judge. After he dies, he may succeed or be chosen by another jurist after him. This is how the Imam appears to them. He applied this theory and remained the leader of the revolution, the leader, or so on. Why does he have many names for them? This guide is the acting Imam, and therefore he takes all the powers of the Imam. Even the issue of infallibility, the issue of not being discussed in the response, means, for example, they are quoted in their books. This is what the Al-Klini said to me. This is what they say to me. Like Al-Bukhari, we have this, the greatest book of the Al-Asul books, I mean. They say in it that Ja'far al-Sadiq, and this is a word attributed to him and is not true, but they wrote that in the book of Al-Klein. Ja'far al-Sadiq says, responding to us, responding to God, and he is on the level of polytheism with God. So the issue of opposing a jurist or opposing an Imam is for them a case of disbelief or distance from him. Religion in college. After that, when Khomeini made the revolution and he took the position of guardian of the jurist's guardianship and began to draft the constitution in a way that allows this process to proceed without any kind of deviation from the path drawn by the one who is the jurist's guardianship and his infallibility. And directing everything into the hands of this jurist means dictatorship. There is never anything like her in the world, because it is also not a dictatorship in the name of this son Adam. This is in the name of God Almighty. He acts on behalf of the Imam, on behalf of God Almighty, and therefore one who has no response to his words, his judgment, or his rule in the country. The Constitution of Iran was drafted in 1979. He included in some clauses that ensure the continuation of this process. Among these clauses, for example, that the guide of the revolution remains until he dies and does not change because he is infallible. So there is nothing wrong with him. They are supposed to change me, so he prefers forever and ever, meaning until he dies. This is one number, the so-called Council of Experts. What is the function of this expert council? This is the function of the Council of Experts. It chooses after the death of the guide of the revolution and another guide, and remains the leader of the country, and draws its policies after the first one dies. This council of experts will be from jurists. It must first be from the second 20 jurists, of course, and it must be a believer in the theory of guardianship, jurist. After they prepare a number of jurists, they begin to get votes and choose the council of jurists. The one who is after that, and these experts who are made up of jurists, who after that choose the guardian. When the Imam dies, when the Imam of the revolution dies, or the one who is Khomeini in the year 89, they chose Ali Khamenei. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who is from 89 until now. This Ali Khamenei, by the way, was the head of state before that. I mean, Khomeini was chosen as the head of state from 81 to 89. And when Khomeini died, they chose him as the Ayatollah. And Khomeini objected to many things from Ali Khamenei. Ali Khamenei, of course, must submit to the fact that he was the head of state, and when he became the guide, he became the infallible. So the issue became, why is he now among the powers of the state guide? And of course, this is also in the constitution. The Iranian law is to draw up all the general policies of the regime. The entire state policy is drawn up through the leader of the revolution. There is a House of Representatives, there is a ministers, there is a head of state, and there is also a judicial institution, military institution, security institution. All of this makes suggestions, but the state's policy in the constitution is drawn up by the leader of the revolution. The leadership of the armed forces belongs to the leader of the revolution. Installing and dismissing heads of institutions and main councils in the state all belong to the leader of the revolution. Appointing the head of the judiciary is also a characteristic of the leader of the revolution. Radio and television, I promised you the powers, all are controlled by him. Subject.
unimaginable. In light of this picture, he also made in the Iranian constitution the head of state, meaning that he has a position called the head of state next to the guide of the revolution. Even though all the powers, the head of state, which are not even ordinary powers, are powers that are very excessive for any country in the world, given to the head of state in the hands of the sons of Adam, only one is. The infallible is the jurist, the governor, and the one appointed by the absent Imam. There is nothing like this in the world, but this is the situation there. This is what the innovative head of state, Khomeini, did in 1979, as well as the Guardian Council. What is the function of the Guardian Council? This is his job. He chooses the head of state. What are these elections that we see and talk about? I'll tell you. This messianic constitution consists of 12 human beings. 6 of them are chosen directly by the leader of the revolution. That's it. Of course, he took 6 of the 12 countries. He is the one who refined them. He is the one who did not choose the leader of the revolution from this Guardian Council. There will never be a decision from it that contradicts what the leader of the revolution says. There are actually 6. He is the one who chose the other 6. The House of Representatives nominates them and approves them by the head of the judiciary, and then after that they enter a council. Upholding the constitution. Knowing that the head of the judiciary is also chosen by the leader of the revolution. So the head of the judiciary, chosen by the leader of the revolution, will be the one who will approve the nominations of representatives. It is possible that many people, this is the council of the guardian of the Constitution 12, and one government that accepts or rejects the nomination of people for the position of president of the state. One person who wants to be nominated for the position of president of the state submits the council of the guardian of the Constitution. This is a request, and the Council of the Guardian of the Constitution, which consists of 12, says to him, yes, do they agree or do they not agree with you entering the presidential race? Of course, the majority are close to you. She's going to walk out of the path of the leader of the revolution, cannot sit on them in the Guardian Council at all, which basically scratches the elections. Take the 2009 elections as an example. There are 471 candidates in total. Meet them, are they? I met 4 of them, but 471 are ahead of the council. Preserving the constitution before them, all 4 of them are sons of the regime. Of those who fully agree with the leader of the revolution, 2 of them are reformists and 2 of them are conservatives, so that the war in the elections does not appear logically, or in the media, it does not appear to be a problem. This is actually what happened, and they chose from the 2 and the 2 and held the elections after that, and one of them won 60%, 50%, 90% or anything. Whatever, it's all about no kind of normal change. Whether he was a reformist or a conservative, there is no issue. The leader of the revolution, Ali Khamenei, reviews the matter. He was respected when he was head of state. He approved one of the laws related to labor, the labor law, and this was contrary to what the revolutionary guide Khomeini wanted. Khomeini objected and told him that the Imam Jurist is infallible, and I did not like this law. The law, so the head of state retreated and repealed the law. As soon as the law had gone through many experiences, through the House of Representatives, through the judiciary, and through the head of state agreed to the revolutionary leader. He said, no, it doesn't work, and everything is retreating. Well, if it happens and there is a stone, the head of state will remain and say, I am the head of state and I must take this decision, ha ha ha. And he insisted on something. I have salvation that consoles the ordinary person. In the Iranian constitution, which Khomeini did, remove and install the head of state, even if he was elected by the people. What is it? Has this happened to you in history? This thing happened himself. Khomeini is 80 years old. Bani Sadr, whose name was Bani Sadr, the head of state, also followed him in their complex of issues and speculations. He told him that there is no use changing the opinion, the influential man. Oh, he took it into himself, meaning, oh, the situation that he is the head of state.
They removed the president removed the head of state and then appointed him as the head of state, Ali Khamenei. And after that, the series went like this. This is the one, the situation that exists in Iran. That's why
the people in Iran, the people. When he saw this issue, he initially expected that there was actually an issue of real elections and that I am with the Conservative Party and I am with the Reformist LA Party and everyone has a certain idea and they discuss each other. And there were elections after that. When they found the pictures on this issue, they began.
The density of attendance in the elections decreases over time, and this is a very, very big nuisance factor in the opinion of the religious authority in Iran for the supreme leader, because this means that the people will not cooperate, accept or cooperate with this regime. The attendance in the elections began to decrease very, very much, and it reached a need, and 60% or a need, and 70%, it fell to 48%, and it fell to that. The last elections were 22%. The attendance rate in the elections means that the people began to read verb. It makes no difference because politics is ultimately drawn from the perspective of the leader of the revolution, not from the perspective of the head of state. This is the backgrounds of governance in Iran. The backgrounds of governance in the Shiite approach in general, an image of dictatorship that does not really exist in Islam.
We do not have this picture, not even in the history of the caliphs coming back. You will meet the Shura. No one says, I speak in the name of God Almighty or that I am infallible. Oh, Omar, may God be pleased with him, accepts and hears. People's opinions change his direction. He hears his son who disagrees with him. The representative demands himself. I had opinions in his advisory council and wished and the world moves in this direction so we can get to the better.
Ara, this means clear evidence that this Shiite regime is what it is like.
Based on Islamic thought and not one of its origins, we ask God Almighty to explain to us what will benefit us, to benefit us with what we know that He has that and is capable of it, and may God's peace, mercy and blessings be upon you.